Effort.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second edition of the Principal's Corner. I'm Dr. Dennis M. Vespe, Principal of Sterling High School, and today's show is going to bring the introduction of the rest of the new administrative team here at Sterling. On my immediate left is Miss Lisa Owen, our Director of Curriculum, and on my further left, Miss Owen's immediate left, Mr. Sean Redman, Vice Principal in charge of discipline. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Miss Owens started with us at Sterling back last year around March of '06. Mr. Redmond came aboard in May of '06, and I joined the team July 1st of '06. Our objective today is to, as I said, introduce Miss Owens and Mr. Redmond to the community of Sterling. I'm going to ask them to give us some background and to also bring us up to date on some of the new changes we're going to have, not only in curriculum, but in discipline, and some of their philosophies as far as student enthusiasm and faculty enthusiasm. So let's start with Miss Owens. To give you a little background about Miss Owen. Miss Owen comes from the Black Horse Pike Regional School District. She is Director of Curriculum. The reason I pause is I was going to tell you what she did over at Black Horse Pike. She was a special education teacher over at Highland High School, and then she came over to us as the Director of Curriculum. She was at Black Horse Pike, if memory serves, for about 13 years. And then the next sad part is she's a graduate of West Deptford High School, and I'll let her explain that in a minute. Ms. Owens, welcome to the Sterling family. If you would, just give us a little background about yourself and so the Sterling community can get to know you a little bit better.
Thanks. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm really happy to be at Sterling. You know, since March, this has been a really great place to be. A little bit of background about myself. I graduated from West Deptford High School in 1988. I played soccer, basketball, ran track there. Went on to play soccer at the University of North Carolina. We won 2 national championships there. And then I went on to help a fledgling program at the University of Arkansas. We broke the top 20 my senior year. And, you know, it was just a really great experience to play college soccer. And then I went on to Black Horse Pike. I was a special education teacher with a background in English for 13 years. And then I got my principal certificate, and here I am, happy to be at Sterling.
Wow, that's a heck of a career, huh? National championship over at Carolina, and then you went over to Arkansas. How did this all come to fruition? As far as you said, you went to school, and you wanted to get your administrative certificate, but why the focus on curriculum? What spurred that?
As a special education teacher, I had experience in all the curricular areas except for science until I went to do my principal certificate, and then I got some experience in that. I just really like the background of being able to work directly with the kids and the teachers in developing, you know, the curriculum for what we're going to do here. I think that's why we're all here, to ensure student success, and really that's where the handle is on doing that, is being, you know, directly involved with the classroom, and that's really where I want to have the most impact.
Your years over at Highland, you said you were there about 13 years, special education. What were some of your responsibilities there besides the classroom?
I was the Renaissance Advisor, which was a program that I know we've had here in the past, and I'd like to look to expand it. It's all about, you know, students recognizing their academic achievements and, you know, morale and the excitement and, you know, getting people excited to be here. I also had some experiences as a soccer coach and a basketball coach and a track coach, but my primary enthusiasm and passion there was Renaissance, because I really believe that drives a school and can really make a huge difference in what's going on in the classroom, as well as how we represent ourselves, you know, as a real class act. And I'm hoping to be able to bring that here to Sterling as well.
We're going to, in a little bit, show some clips from our first faculty meeting, which will kind of bring that faculty enthusiasm and Renaissance and fish philosophy to the community. Let them see what you're talking about there a little bit more in detail. Your experience, you're the first team member to come aboard. You came in March, Mr. Redmond came in May, myself in July. So you got the time on us, so to speak. How's your experience been so far at Sterling?
It's been amazing. First, I'd like to address, the faculty and staff have been very supportive. I think we're really fortunate to have a young staff, combined with some experienced teachers that really gives us that well-rounded faculty that's enthusiastic about what we want to do here. I think everyone's on board and supportive, trying to do what's best for students, which is why we're here. As far as the students themselves go, I think we're highly spirited. The super fans are great, and being in the halls, I think the kids are respectful, and I think they represent us to just the greatest extent of what we could hope for. And I'm just real pleased to be a part of this whole environment.
As you said, when we asked you about some background, you went through all the athletics, and then you were involved with Renaissance and a lot of what I'll call extracurricular and peripheral things. What would be your message to staff, the students, and the community about, obviously education is first and foremost and priority, but why don't you share your thoughts about how you feel it's important to get involved extracurricular?
Well, I think it's important to be involved as a whole person. Our actual academic work that we do is obviously very important, but that's only one part of our education. I think if we're going to be successful members of the society, we have to be able to fit in a lot of different areas, whether it's athletics or music or art. That really gives you that ability to work together with other people. I think that's a real key element. And just being like an enthusiastic member and being involved, that whole, in the fish philosophy, it's be there. No matter what you're doing, to just be there and take advantage of it to, the fullest extent that we can. I think that's really an important part of this whole educational process. It's not just academics, which are extremely important, obviously, but I think the whole culture that we set up here is, very important to the educational process.
Well, let's do that. It's a great segue. Let's talk about the educational process. Being director of curriculum and all the changes that are occurring, No Child Left Behind, so forth and so on, up and down the road. What can the students, faculty, and the community of Sterling expect as far as changes, continuations? Why don't you give us a little detail about our curriculum and some of our programs?
Well, I think we've done a really great job in the past few years with, like our HESPA results. We've done outstanding in language arts literacy. We have almost a 98% passing rate. We've done a great job in math. We've raised our scores by 13 points over the past couple years. That's definitely a focus, is to continue improving in the math area. In science, I really believe that it's been field tested for the past few years. I think we're going to see like a science part to the HESPA. And really here we've been on track with keeping up with the important things with the core curriculum content standards. But there's a real push for just making sure that we're on track with everything that's going on with the state, and we are. I think that we're actually exceeding the expectations of the state, and it's my goal to continue to do that. Involving the faculty decision making, our PLC process, I think is really a key to what we're doing here. We're really way far ahead of the learning curve as far as best practices go, and I think our PLC development that we have, where our teachers have the opportunity to work together in teams, I think that makes a huge difference in what we're trying to do here, and we're really ahead of the learning curve as far as that goes.
You mentioned PLC. Why don't you just elaborate a little bit about that for the community members?
Our professional learning communities, as you know, our students come in late every other week, basically, to give our faculty a chance to get together and meet to make sure that our curriculum and our assessments and basically everything we're doing in the classroom is best practice, so that we're providing our students with the absolute most positive experience they could have in the classroom. And I think that's a key that education has been lacking in the past, is we used to just basically lock ourselves in a classroom and we all did our own thing. Well, it's really important now that this whole team concept, that we're coming together, and what I think the strength of PLC is that by working together, if you're weak in an area, I can help in that area, and the area maybe that I'm weak in, you could help me in that area. And I think that's really the strength of our departments working together, is being able to, take what's best for students and implementing them in all the classrooms, rather than, limiting ourselves to only what, we're strong with doing.
Before I go over to Mr. Redman, our other distinguished guest, Obviously, there's a priority, things you want to achieve, some goals you want to set, first year, second year, third year. Why don't you tell us probably one or two of the main goals, main priorities you want to focus on and you're going to try to attack first?
I really think with the PLCs, I think establishing our curriculums and making sure that everything is up to date with the core curriculum content standards and making sure that we're addressing all of the needs in the classroom. I think that's the first goal, is to really kind of evaluate where we are and make sure that everything is being done that needs to be done. My second goal, curriculum-wise, is in the math area, because I think that there's a real a push, especially in geometry, where I'd like to see us raise our test scores and focus a little bit more in that area. And if I can add a third goal to this, it's to really expand our Renaissance program, because I think that's just a key element of the overall educational process.
Great. Okay, let's go to our second guest, Mr. Sean Redman. He is the Vice Principal in charge of discipline, but he has many other talents besides that. Mr. Redman's a graduate of Glassboro High School. From there, he went to Penn State, go Knits. And then from there, I believe he started at Salem High School, or Salem?
I actually started Ranch Hope for Boys.
Okay, Ranch Hope for Boys. And then he went through, I guess you call the administrative ladder, and then we're lucky enough to have him here at Sterling. So Mr. Redman, if you would, could you give the Sterling community some background about yourself?
Thank you, Dr. Vespe. Yes, I graduated from Glassboro High School in 1985. Went on to Penn State. Had a nice career there. Graduated from Penn State in '89. Excuse me. When I graduated, I did have an opportunity to go down to Miami Dolphins, and I stayed with the Dolphins and made it up into the last camp, where I had an injury that ended my career as far as professional football. I went back to Glassboro and went down to Ranch Hope for Boys, where I worked down there for 2 years, and then transferred over to Salem City School District. I was a student assistance counselor, where they had me teaching the drug and alcohol curriculum. And I was down there for 3 years, and the grant ended in Salem City. Went to Creative Achievement Academy, where I was assistant director in charge of discipline there. Stayed there for a number of years. Went to Vineland High School, where I was a student assistance counselor and the director of the after-school program. After my tenure there, I was fortunate enough to get a assistant principal position at Pennsauken High School. I was there for about 4 years and was fortunate enough to come to Sterling.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Let me, even though it's not, I don't want to step on Mr. Hiltner's toes because I know he has his weekly athletic, but I just think you brought out a tremendous point there that I want to expand on. You made it up to the last cut with the Dolphins, and then unfortunately injury happened, but you had an education to fall back on. Why don't you kind of expand on that a little bit? Just and again, I realize this isn't the athletic portion, but I just think it's a good message for our students and community.
Well, I think the most important thing, making my decision to go to Penn State, I was one of the fortunate student athletes coming out of the South Jersey area to have an opportunity to choose which college I would like to attend. And that I was very fortunate of that, and I did choose Penn State because it was close in proximity for my family to come to the games. My second choice was Notre Dame, but it would have been a tough situation for my family to get to the game. So choosing Penn State, Notre Dame, they both had what we call the academic rate was 85% for both schools. So I chose Penn State because of the close proximity, for my family. Had an opportunity to, of course, be coached by one of the best coaches in the college ranks, Joe Paterno. And actually, we were fortunate enough to win the national championship my sophomore year, where we beat Miami in the Fiesta Bowl. Sorry, Mr. Domenico, but we did beat Miami.
That's quite all right.
In the Fiesta Bowl.
Wow, 2 national champions. What a team. We knew that. You started around May. You came over from Pennsauken High School, as you said, and
Yes.
we were lucky enough to get you to start here around May. So you've been here not quite as long as Miss Owens, but certainly longer than I. Why don't you share some of your experiences and first impressions of Sterling with the community?
Certainly. Well, I think it was definitely a great opportunity, and I appreciate all the welcomes. And I talked to a lot of people in the community. You know, they come up, introduce themselves, and you know, we talk about my philosophy and different things as far as Sterling is concerned. I think Sterling is an excellent school. You know, just looking to improve on some of the areas, you know, for the students, so everybody can be successful. And I think coming in May was tough in a sense for Pennsauken, because you know, obviously they're closing their school year out and they're losing an administrator. But I made that decision because you know, this is my future here at Sterling, and I want to get an idea of how things were ran. Things are run really well. You know, just want to make a few adjustments on some of the things, and as far as classes and you know, students walking around with water bottles and flip-flops, and some of the changes in which we instituted.
Great segue. I didn't even prep, I'm honest. My first edition at the principal school, and I had Mr. McCulley on, and basically we went over the changes in curriculum, but we really focused on the discipline and some of those policy changes. There's too many to go into, but if you could just pick one or two that maybe you want to reconvey to the community about what we're trying to restructure and emphasize as far as whether it be dress code or discipline or maybe latenesses.
Well, I think if I was to pick the hottest topic, I think the hottest topic for me would be lateness. I think, you know, because Sterling is a walking district, you know, we wanted to focus and improve on students coming to school late. And I think, you know, we're in the right direction right now with immediate consequence. If a student is late the first time, there will be a teacher detention. And if the student is late a second time, then the teacher will refer that student to my office, and I will discipline that student and give a call to the parent.
Excellent. One of your many hats is, besides discipline, is you have ROTC, you have student awareness, student assistance. Could you just expand upon that a little bit as far as some of the other hats you wear and what kind of goals and things you're driving to this school year?
Certainly. I think the goal for student assistance, my number one goal is to get to the students that we have a system set up. It's called peer mediation, where if a student is having a problem with another student, you know, we don't want that student to approach the other student in the hallway. We like for that student to come down to Miss Jen Ivan-Zelder or myself or that student's guidance counselor. And what will happen after that is we will call both students down, and they will have a mediation where they can sit down, talk about what the problem is, and then come up with a resolution and hopefully return back to class.
Through your resume that you were just telling us a couple minutes ago, you as well as Ms. Owens obviously was very involved athletically, extracurricular. How about sharing some of your thoughts or philosophies? Try and encourage the kids and the community, you know, what you think the kids and the students here at Sterling should do. Obviously, again, academics is priority number one, but maybe share some of your thoughts and philosophies about getting involved extracurricular.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing I like to mention is number one, to stay drugs and alcohol free. I think that's most important for any student, not just students that's involved in activities after school. The band, you know, get involved with the band. I really support the band. But number one is to stay away from those people who do decide to use drugs and alcohol. You know, like I said, we do have a system set up where, unfortunately, if that student decides to try to come to any school event, you know, we have the alcohol detection device that we will be instituting at the games, so students need to be aware of that. You know, we try to do different things to deter students from using drugs and alcohol.
Okay. And I know we're always pushing the issue to the kids that if somebody's harassing them or if they're a little uncomfortable, if there's problems, they can always come see yourself. If you're not available, come to my office, see Miss Owens, whoever. But if you could just expand on that a little bit and maybe reiterate, you know, where your office is, your extension maybe, and get that message out to the community.
Okay. First, my extension is 4165. Call the school number 784-1333, extension 4165. My office is actually located in the old superintendent's office. The superintendent moved over to what everybody remembers as the ADO if they happen to go through Sterling. Because of the board office and the location of the board office, he wanted to be right next to the board office, so that works out. I think with student harassment or any type of bullying, of course, here at Sterling, we pride ourselves on zero tolerance. And if a student bullies or harasses another student and we have that student's name, obviously I will call that student down, do an investigation, and find out, what the problem is and see if we can mediate it. If not, then I might have to get the police involved.
Great. Well, obviously, as you can see, two of the additions of the new team, they get involved, and it's not just about coming in and punching the clock from, we'll say, 9 to 5 or 7 to 3, whatever the case. They come in early, they stay late. But it wouldn't be a complete Principal's Corner if I didn't have a little surprise or two. So what I want to do is I want to show everybody in the community that it's not just all about the curriculum and discipline and business, that they are also human beings, Miss Owens and Mr. Redman. So we took some pictures that we would like to show. We're going to start with Miss Owen, and she's going to look at the monitor and look at a couple of the pictures that we took and put in, and if you kind of elaborate on some of those, we'd appreciate it.
Well, that picture's from my senior year in high school, one of our pep rallies. We were always the center of attention, the girls soccer team. That year we won. We won the conference. We were #1 in South Jersey. We won Group 3. We lost in the semifinal game to the States, but that was just basically our team's enthusiasm, and I was always the center of attention. My senior year, I was voted most athletic. That's what that picture's from, along with one of my friends, Tom Heenan. He was the male athlete, and I was the female athlete in our class.
Now that hairstyle was from what era? What was that?
That's the 80s, and I'm very proud to say that, I had a little bit of hair and a lot of gold then. That's pretty much a typical picture of me from playing soccer. I was always given directions and always intense. That was, something I wasn't really a finesse player too much. It was all about intensity and working hard. And there's my two pride and joys. Those are my nephews. The older one's Billy. He just started kindergarten this year. And my nephew Joshua, he turned 1 yesterday.
Okay. That wasn't too bad, I
Not
promise.
too
I
bad.
told you, not too bad. And of course, we have to be equal opportunists here. So of course, we got some pictures for Mr. Redman. So if Mr. Redman, you could check out the monitor and kind of elaborate for the community.
Okay, certainly. That's a picture of my family. The gentleman in the back, that's my grandfather, who just happens to be 78 years old. He looks like he's in better shape than I am. He takes good care of himself. The person on my right is my oldest daughter, Courtney. She just went to 7th grade, and my other daughter, Kayla, is on my left. She is going into 5th grade. And there's my son, Sheldon Sean Redman Jr. He is in 3rd grade. Okay, this picture is my youngest sister graduating from Morgan State, Sama. And on her right is her and my, of course, middle sister, and that's Marla.
And that's you on her left?
Of course, that's me there, and my sunglasses, yes.
I was going to say, I like her sunglasses.
Okay, I added this picture. That's my son when he was actually 5 years old, but I wanted to show, that Mr. Redman does have a little sense of humor there.
Yeah, I see a smile. That's rare.
Yeah, you won't see me smiling during the day, but I do smile.
Okay, that's great. We had mentioned before, Miss Owen, when we were talking about Renaissance and our fish philosophy. What I want to do is, if the camera could kind of zoom in here for a second on me. We go to camera 3 or camera 1. We go to camera 1. We had a opening not pep rally, we had one of those too, but we had an opening faculty meeting September 1st, and one of the things that the new administrative team wanted to get across to the faculty and staff was a fish philosophy. And those of you that aren't familiar with the quote-unquote fish philosophy, it developed back in Washington, Seattle, Pacific Northwest up there. And it's all about choosing your attitude and coming into work with the positive attitude. You know, is your glass half empty, is it half full? And we tried to convey that to the staff on that first day, and of course we want to permeate this throughout the school the entire year and years to come. But what I'm about to show you is we took a section from the fish philosophy, and those of you that don't know it, this will be kind of vague, but those of you that do know the fish philosophy, these fish marketeers throw fish around and they get their work done, but they have fun. So Mr. Redman, Miss Owen, and myself wanted to kind of invoke that same philosophy, and with the help of Mr. Hiltner, who did a tremendous job getting the fish video for us, and with Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Gardner, and Mrs. Akinkis, we kind of took upon the fish philosophy and tweaked it a little bit in the Sterling fashion. So what we're going to show you in a minute is a clip from our faculty meeting, and instead of throwing fish, we threw some other things. So if we can cue that up. What we're doing here is, and I happen to hit, that was a student teacher who's still with us, and Coach Morgan, she kind of dropped the ball, as it were, right there. But what we have in those packages right there are Sterling shirts, which I'm going to elaborate on in a little bit. But we gave all these shirts out to the staff the opening day. We packaged them in safe, soft envelopes. Just asked the student teacher that got hit in the face with it. And we asked the supervisors to circulate throughout the staff. And instead of throwing fish, we threw these shirts around in these packets. Now, at the time, the staff did not know what was in these packages. And once we opened up the package, we explained to that. And as I said, I'll elaborate on that in a minute. But right now, this is us just pretty much throwing around the different shirts. We have names. Each shirt was tagged. So we had the names we called. As you can see, a lot of our staff, it's still early in the morning, we have to work on some of our athleticism, but we'll get to that. And what we're trying to convey is to the staff and to everyone here is you choose your attitude, not only as a staff member or an employee, but as a student. When you come into school, when you go into work, it's all about choosing that attitude and making sure the glass is half full or 3/4 full, and just coming in with a positive attitude. We're all going to make mistakes. They're all going to be bumps throughout the road, but if you choose that positive attitude and come into work or the school or just life in general with the glass is half full kind of philosophy, it just permeates throughout the building, and it really makes the years here at Sterling even more enjoyable when they were. And as I said from day one, me being a graduate at Sterling, me having great 4 years here at Sterling, then coming back to teach, I want to convey that to the kids, and I want the faculty, the community, and the kids to make sure they have that same philosophy. Before I wrap it up, I want to just elaborate on those Sterling shirts that you saw us throw around. If we could kind of zoom in here on Mr. Redman's staff shirt and zoom in here on his right side with the letter S. We'll get the camera guys to do that in a second. I asked Mr. Redman and Miss Owen to wear their staff shirts today because every Friday is Blue and Silver Day here at Sterling. And I want the staff and I want the kids and I want everybody to wear blue or silver on every Friday. And what these staff shirts represent is, and this is again what we threw out during that faculty meeting, it's the S, which is Sterling, which means it's all of us, but there's two hands holding up that S. And those two hands represent really everybody. They represent the staff, the administration, the community, the whole Sterling family. We couldn't fit more than two hands because of embroidering restrictions, but it means we're in this together. And what we're trying to do as a new administrative team, Mr. McCulley, Mr. Giambri, Ms. Owens, Mr. Redman, myself, Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Hiltner, Mr. Gardner, Ms. Akinkis, is we're in this together. And we're only as strong as the faculty, we're only as strong as the community, and we're in this together, and we're going to make this Sterling High School, even though it's great now, we're going to make it better than ever, and we're all in it together, and I want the kids and the community to feel that way. So before I wrap it up, I'm going to ask for some final words from Ms. Owens, then Mr. Redman. But again, I just want to emphasize the fact of those hands aren't just a gimmick. It wasn't just a fish one day philosophy. It's an attitude, it's a philosophy that we want to permeate throughout the school, not only now, but for the coming years. Ms. Owens, any final thoughts on your first Principal's Corner? Wasn't too bad, huh?
Actually, this was great, and I'm lucky to have the opportunity to work with two great administrators. I'm really thankful for this opportunity to be here at Sterling, to work with these great students, this great faculty, and you two, because I think this is going to be a really great place to be for a long time to come.
Well, you're right, and I thank you for those words. Mr. Redman, any final thoughts?
Yes, I too would like to thank everyone, the staff, the faculty for embracing me. You know, I'm looking forward to an awesome year. I think the students have a good idea of what we expect, but for those students who still trying to figure it out, make sure you check your policies. Parents also read the policies so you're aware of you know, situations. And please feel free to give me a call if you have any concerns, circumstances. Let me know. I'm willing to help. My door is always open.
Thank you very much. What camera? Here we go, camera 1. Final thoughts on the second edition of the Principal's Corner. I want to thank the new administrative team, Ms. Owens, Mr. Redman, for being my guest today. Trust me when I tell you, they might not have come from Sterling and graduated West Deptford and Glassboro, that's all right, but they're Knights, and they're here and they're working hard, and they love being here, and they really enjoy working with your children and the community. You know my background, I'm Mr. Knight, you cut me, I'm silver and blue, so I don't have to say much more on that. But I want to thank everybody for being guests. I want to thank the camera crew, Mr. K, Mr. Farr, and I really want to thank the students and staff because I think we've had a real strong opening this year. I want it to continue, and please remember, Friday, Silver and Blue Day, go Knights, pins, anything, silver and blue. So that's the second edition. I'll see you in October for the third edition, and go Knights.